So I'm the owner of Watermark Photography. We're in Athens, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta. And currently, we like to share that we're a small but very mighty team. So we've grown the business to about, we're almost up to 60 accounts this year. That includes volume schools, elementary, middle schools, high schools. We offer sports programs through those schools. We have some leagues. And then in a very teeny tiny corner, we will do the real custom stuff still. We have a pretty big senior portrait program that goes along with our contract seniors. But we, oh goodness, we're 95% volume. And the way that we're able to do that is just through very, very intentional logistics and building systems and operations and things like that. But at the heart of it is the fact that I really love people. I love talking to people. I love hiring people that love people. And I feel like if you're going to own your own business and it's going to be a big part of your life, that the least you can do is make it fun while you're there. And we like to bring that energy to our clients and our students. And we've built a pretty impressive little local brand. So we're proud of it. But
as you should be. You're intentional with your what you do. Like you just don't hire anybody. You just don't implement a process. You realize that it had to change. Like you
yeah,
had a breaking point, and you
yeah,
had to be like, I gotta do something about
yeah.
this because I'll go crazy if not.
Like you see what you don't want to be in a business. And so I made sure that we were not, and it has served us well, for sure.
I think that's something that you do well. You spoke about it at SPAC too with Marcy about Marcy, you kept referring to Marcy being in charge of these things. And you were like, I know this person in my company has the control, the authority. I know who is responsible for this and who is responsible for that. And you used to be responsible for all of that. So
Right.
how do you let go? How do you have that conversation with yourself? Because I know how to do it for me, but I'm curious for you because you had to go through it. I can only have an outside perspective of what you should
Yeah.
do.
I think it just got to the point where several things happened. One, I had been in the industry a bit longer. The more years that you put in, the more you learn, the more you pick up. And just brutal honesty. I think that I was holding on to something so tightly that a lot of my clients, on the admin side, but also the actual clients, my parents, I was holding on to things that they did not appreciate. Meaning, when it comes to extreme control over your portraiture, your settings, and how I would run the kids in, those parents at the end of the day get an online gallery and they like the pictures or they don't, right? They don't know what we go through on the back end to make them the best possible images that they can be. And so a lot of that could be trimmed down without sacrificing quality. And then I also,
Mhm.
the biggest lesson for me, I was working 80-hour weeks. I was miserable. I was everywhere. I wasn't sleeping. Customer service was personal to me. It would keep me up and cranky. And it was bad news. Right. So the biggest thing was to be able to build, finally, I can't do this by myself. I'm going to go down in a blaze of glory. I need some help. And how do I get what's in my head into somebody else's head? And how do I make sure that what I'm thinking, people don't need to ask me anymore? Well, what's your solution to this, Heather, while you're on the job? How do we handle this? And so slowly we would just create more and more and more systems and automations and the way that we shoot things. And everybody now that works for me, we're up to, on really big jobs, we'll have 5 photographers there. That's not usual. We're usually between really mainly 3, sometimes 4. But every one of those photographers are lined up in an exact same, our settings are exactly the same and measured out, and everybody knows exactly what we're shooting and how we're shooting it and what the crops are for that. We try to do, I went from getting it just me and like, oh, I think that looks good. I overshot. Oh my gosh. So the culling was ridiculous. It took a long time for me to take my custom portraiture mindset and ego off the table and think about how do we change the way that we feel about portrait photography and make it custom, but also consistent so that it works in volume and you're not spending all of your time editing, right? So I slowly have hired the right people, but with every new hire, there's been a system of, okay, let's get it out of Heather's brain. Let's get it into
Mm-hmm.
a training manual. Let's figure out what she wants to do. And everybody knows when they show up. It's not, what are we doing today? How are we doing it? It's, they already know. And now I don't have to be there. I'm still there a lot, but I have to be. And I trust them that when I get their images into Captura, that they're going to be what I want them to be, and we're not going to have a fire over the actual shoot of the day. And then, of course, on the back end, I mean, again, more systems. But that was the biggest piece that, I'm not the only photographer in the world. I'm not even the best one, right? This can be reproduced. And I finally figured out how to do it. Plus, it's more fun with more people and less stress on you by yourself.
What do you change first? Obviously, first thing you said, like you mentioned right off the rip, was your camera setup. Like down to the distance, where to place the mats, where to place the lights. Like, how did you do that? Did you like pass that knowledge on to someone else and that person put that knowledge onto like pen and paper, you know? Or was it a they still just continue to pass the knowledge along and like you have like the important things documented out?
So, my brain is only so big, right? And so I was a really diligent student with note taking. I'm very good with task lists. And so it just got to a point when I would have time in between seasons and things were a bit slower. I just started getting everything down on paper. Well, not paper, but in Google Sheets and Google Docs. And I started thinking, if I'm really going to grow this business, how am I going to do it? Like, what are my standard operating procedures other than Heather's going to tell you how to do it, or you should be able to read Heather's mind, because that didn't work. So um, I came up with twofold. So to answer the photography part of it, I just was finding that when I would have like day photographers come in and their images
Mhm.
weren't quite what I wanted them to be, it wasn't their fault. It was a communication issue. It was me. It was me not telling them what the expectations were and me just assuming that, hey, they're a professional photographer. I only hire professionals. But their idea of what something should be, I would give them guidance, but not very, very specific guidance,
Right.
right? So I finally sat down and wrote my big old training manual that essentially is, this is Watermark's training manual, this is Heather's brain, and it's on paper. Luckily, by that point, I did have, Marcy came in as my full-time lead photographer, and then I had one or two more contract photographers. But once I was able to get it out to Marcy, then I was able to really just lay down from A to Z exactly what I was thinking. And this is how we're going to do it. And each station looks exactly this way. And each student comes to this station, and this student in these settings, in these conditions, get these four poses. And I want them right out of camera. And I want to make sure that our white balance is cut. Everything was there as a checklist that we don't use anymore because we all know it. Like, we don't physically use the checklist, but that portrait wise was something that had to be done for me to be able to run three other stations and not think about, oh goodness, how are they doing? Or is everything, are they cropping that the right way? Am I going to have to go in later? So really that training has been a very big piece of how we've continued to grow. And then it sort of snowballs, right? Because I get one photographer that I trust completely. And then between the two of us, we revise this training manual, get on the third. Our third photographer, Don, who is the preciousness, oh my gosh, that he
Good
really
on.
for training. And so he took our manual even one step further, and he's now in charge of the new folks as they come in, so that I don't even have to deal with that. Like when they
It's
show,
so many degrees away now that
yeah,
you're like
Yeah.
I know it's happening and I know it's happening well,
Yes.
but because I did this.
Yes. So it's finally, and it's painful to create and to get out there and revise, but it's changed the last 2 years of what we're doing, because everybody, when they show up to their station, I know that they know what I want and I don't worry about it. I know that they're going to get it done. So there's like the photo piece of it. But realistically, as you grow your accounts from, 2, 3 accounts up to 20, 30, 50, we have a very big system of checks and balances. In fact, we looked at some other software after SPAC this year, just as a studio management system, and we decided, once we really got into it, I do have one. I have a salaried admin now, Becky. And she already was doing everything that we were about to purchase from the software to be done, right? And she's like, wait a second, I have all of that. Let me put it all in one place. Just very specific steps, with a yearly timeline of this, in January, what are we doing? Who are we reaching out to? What's the time frame there? We start our spring pictures in February. How does that go? Then when do we talk to them about contracts? When do we follow up about this? When do they get paid their commissions? When do we start, aiming for fall? So all that stuff that was swimming around in my head all the time, and like waking me up in the middle of the night, like, I got to talk to them. I haven't sent a contract to them. That's not there anymore, because again, I let the trust go to somebody else. But we have checklists. Like, it's very cut it. And so people, I have really smart folks that work for me. I say all the time, specifically, if Becky and Marcy decide to exit, then I will follow, because I do not want to do this without them anymore. But trust my team. We're a family. We know that everybody has their part in it and what they're doing, and they're getting it done, and I don't have to follow up on that. So that frees me up to go out and look for new accounts, and to really be more intentional about my customer service with my administrators, and show up and shake hands and kiss babies, but also make sure that we're doing the job that they hired us to do, and that they're happy. Now, I didn't have the bandwidth for that before. So we are a very, very detailed, regimented operation at this point. And it's just stuff that we've done it organically. There's nothing big and fancy. It's our Google Sheets, Google Docs. We use Jotform for some things, for different contracts. We have our own scheduling system that we came up with, where people can schedule their senior portraits with certain time slots. And I was doing that all alone, and that is not the
Mm-hmm.
way. So, and then I know I talk about it all the time, but the biggest change in my life was Captura, just because I had the automations in place, and Captura has helped to just reinforce those automations, if that makes sense. I mean,
Yep.
I would still bring a job in, and I would cull it out myself, and then I would go in and apply, an action, and do a bulk crop, and then I would make sure that the heads, I mean, things that would take time. And now, not only does Captura, of course, hold all of our images, don't even get me going on the marketing, like, that piece being taken away from me is a very nice surprise, right? But we house it all in one place. We all have access to it. The job goes in. It's shot correctly out of camera. So they're just minor tweaks here and there. They've got AI cropping in it, not only with heads, but now they have a 3/4 crop that they came out with in January. Everything is like, get it in the system, click a button, sync it up, see what it is. You can see the whole job together, make the tweaks, move the kids that need to be, renamed or moved to other access codes or whatever. And we get the jobs out that we're done the same day. We're done the same day. And that's because of that, we have more time to focus on the systems of running the business. The actual editing and the jobs themselves are not what are tying us down anymore.
And it's not your business is running you, it's you are running your business,
Fine.
Like, the ability to, like, you have come up with how you want things to be done in a form and fashion that is accessible to everybody, which is why onboarding goes well for you, because you knew and you've trusted people to do it too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So not only that, but you also documented what happens afterwards, like the photo editing process,
Yes.
culling, cropping, what
Right.
I look for. And you simply did it out of like Google Docs and processes and people that you've surrounded yourself with. And I think that's a really Like, that's a really good piece of advice for people is that, be intentional with what you are doing and you'll be able to achieve these processes and
Yeah.
systems. And if you don't, like, that's the reason why software is here,
Yeah.
is to make things better. So if you don't have the ability to do that, yeah, there's software that can help you with your
Totally.
task management and
Great,
scheduling.
great
E-
software. We were
exactly.
find out that like, oh, we're already doing this. So for us, we didn't need it, but I sure would have loved to have it 5 years ago. You
But
know.
that is the point is that you already had it, like, you took the
Mm.
time to do it, and I think that's the biggest takeaway, is that you have 2 options, to do it yourself or you can have help along the way, and, like, both of those come with their own unique challenges and hardships,
Yeah.
and how to, like, go through the process because it's not just taking, like, pen to paper, it's like what you said, Heather's mind onboarding manual, Marcy, then Dawn. Like it's been through versions. It's had editing done. It's a living and like breathing document.
Yeah.
And I tell people all this all the time when it comes to like documentation about like onboarding and like support articles and like continued education is the ability for something to be updated and changed. Like it needs to be in a version that isn't an end all be all because a feature can come out, a process could change. You could get a client that requires a unique step for themselves
Yeah.
because you have the bandwidth. Like you said, I was having to hit action, then bulk this, and then that. Now those 5 steps are consolidated down to like 2.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that I think that's my biggest piece of advice for people. The one thing you should 2 things you should focus on. One being the major thing is get what you want to get right in front of the camera out on paper. So that way the people you are hiring, they are photographers. They're going to photograph each and every single one of you, photograph a different way. That's why I tell all portrait photographers who get into volume, you're gonna have to let go of a lot. And if
You
you
are.
can't accept that fact, then this is not the space for you. It's not a safe
That's
space at all.
that's it. You got to let go. Like
You gotta let it
Mama
go.
doesn't care that you used to shoot weddings. She doesn't. Mama doesn't care that you have a photography degree. It's and it's not the thing that I had to come to terms with, but also really embrace. And then I've seen it's changed for me is you're not lowering your standards. You're changing what you're offering. And I mean, fight me on it. I think volume photography is the hardest form of photography that there is.
100% because
Yeah.
there's so many nuances and how you have to be able to like do things. And
Hmm.
like I think that's the most important part for the like another thing I'll tell people like our industry is so nuanced, like, don't worry about the small stuff, like,
Right.
worry about the big picture things, like, figure out how you wanna photograph, get your editing process down, because what sells in this industry is the quality of that image,
Yes.
and you spending 20 minutes an image to make it perfect when you could get
Yeah.
95% of it right in front of the camera, get the lights right, do a little color correction if need be, or this or that with useful tools, not one by one.
Yes. Oh, we back.
Deliver a good quality picture.
And you can still create something that you're proud of. I mean, I still,
Yes.
yes, we're volume photographers, but we make volume look good. Like you will see our work compared to the other big boxes that are in our area, and we are better quality. We just are. And parents appreciate that, and so do our administrators. So you can take something that I think the photography industry as a whole years and years ago, sort of like thumb their nose at. I mean, who wants to do volume? Well, let me tell you something. Volume photographers are making more than wedding photographers these days because it's really about the logistics and the systems. And you can still, I mean, do you lose a little bit of creativity? Sometimes, but to get somebody there and to be able to get 5 amazing portraits of one child where they have great expressions and they're in front of your camera for 17 to 28 seconds, find me somebody who can do that. It's really hard,
That
very hard.
it's not easy, like,
No,
people think, like, getting those expressions and, like, getting authenticity out of these kids or,
yeah,
like, even, like
this and their collars all like you gotta think on your feet. You gotta be great with people. You have to have your technical skills down completely because what if a light starts misfiring or
right.
it just there's some the hardest thing to do. So I have a lot of respect for the volume industry, much more than I did when I started organically kind of getting into it. I didn't know what I was getting into, but I'm able to come home every day. I'm typically my office is at home. I'm here when my kids get home from school. Not that they want to spend time with me all the time, but I'm available if necessary. Weekends and evenings anymore very often. It's very few and far between. So I have a schedule that works with my family life too. And I can't say that I shut it down every night at 5 o'clock, but I have the flexibility there to be where I'm needed at home. And that it works for me and my family. I know the money that's coming in typically. I know what's going out. It really was such a blessing for me, an unexpected blessing many years ago.
Like you said, it's no longer about Heather Waters of Watermark Photography. It is just Watermark Photography now.
Yeah,
And that in itself is like you want that to grow, and it takes control, it takes consistency,
yeah,
and it takes you like allowing other people to come in to help you build sustainable processes.
yeah. So now we're still personal, but it's less personal for me, and that's when we were really able to take off. And like I said, I mean, the industry is changing so much every day. We modify our systems after every season. You have to. Something changes.
Mhm.
Season, I rewrite our training manual. We have another training session before the next season. Our standard operating procedures change. You mentioned earlier that different schools have different needs. I mean, that's each one of our schools, I feel like, is just a little bit different from the other. But as a local company, we sell that we are able to adapt to that, and we are. But you have to be able to plug in those little nuances and changes per client, right? So that
Mhm.
you feel like they're your only client when they're really one of 50 or 60. And having that base of all of these systems allows for that to happen. Take our standard procedures for this. We're going to tweak it a little bit for this. And then again, we all know going in on the front end how it's different, what we're going to do to change it so that we're not reacting to something happening there, and we give them the best possible experience from the get go. So it helps. My advice is hire a Becky, but if you can't do that, uh, like I said, I mean, I think using some software management for me, that would have been so incredibly helpful early on, because I just had email chains everywhere and documents here and documents there. But to get it into one place where we all know what's happening all the time is huge. And once you have it, like I said, more clients just mean more days, and we can have that.
I could offer just like one piece of advice to anybody. Come at this with a plan. You're going to get into volume photography, understand what you're getting into. Be mindful of it could go from just you showing up to taking pictures and delivering images to you having to do yearbooks and different exports and working sport days and different obligations, and really think about what you would do in those situations, how you want to handle them, what softwares, if you have to, you're going to use them, and put it on paper. Because the idea that you're going to be doing it all by yourself when you get into this business is not, that's not, unless that is where you want to be. You just want to have your 6, 7 schools, and then even then, I still compel you to write your processes down, because you never know when you're going to need some help.
Yeah, definitely.
So prepare what you're getting into,
Yeah,
but
and ask for help. I mean, there's so much business out there. The photography industry, the volume photography industry, if you really plug yourself in, there's some really fantastic people who are more than willing to share. And I mean, there were folks that helped me out, and I'm more than willing to help anybody else out that's trying to get into it. Don't make it so hard on yourself and keep yourself on your own island and try to figure it out. Use your resources, get to know people, because there's plenty of business out there for all of us. And I think we're all each other's biggest cheerleaders once you really get into it. So I've been really thankful to meet lots of friends like Roger, but I do have others just to ease the burden a little bit, so that you're not so alone. Like I think what you said, Roger, is just the biggest takeaway, if you hear nothing else, is to plan ahead, get your systems in place, and then grow slowly and steadily, and don't overdo it. You won't overdo it if you have that baseline of knowledge and logistics and what your action plan is. It will just make things so much better on the back end, and then you can continue to do it and do it at a scale. That's
Takes
all.
a good foundation. That's
Yeah,
all it takes is a good foundation.
it's true.
I love you so much, my friend.
I love
Thank
you.
you for doing this with me.
I, I love it. I love it. Thank you for onboarding me many years ago. Look at us now. Look at us now.
Look at us now. All right, beautiful people. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Hope you all have a good day. Bye.